Aloha! This CME activity is jointly provided by the Queen's Medical Center and UH-JABSOM Department of Geriatric Medicine. We offer free continuing education for this series. In order to receive a CME or CEU, participants must complete the online evaluation at the end of the webinar. Your comments are very important to the planning committee and will be used to plan future programs. About ECHO, we want to remind everyone that this is an ECHO webinar, which means that this session serves as a forum for mutual teaching and learning from experts and from each of us on the front lines. As the ECHO motto goes, all teach, all learn. So it will take all of you to create this community of learning. A little bit about our format. After a short lecture from our experts, we will share expertise from the rest of the team and then open the time up for case discussions. We invite you to share any geriatric cases. It may even be on a topic not related to the topic of today's lecture. We only ask that you keep it HIPAA compliant case for discussion. That means please do not share patient's name, birthday, address, and so on. We learn best from our patients. They are the best teachers. Our interdisciplinary team is here as well, and we are all willing to teach and share our collective wisdom with you. Most of you already know me. I am Lynette Gaylord, president of the Alliance of Residential Care Administrators, ARCA. We have Mary Botan, president of Foster Family Homes Association, Elsa Talavera, president and CEO of All Island Case Management Corporation, Daniel DeLonghi, health coordination manager for Aloha Care, Maui County, Leila Ventar, health coordination manager from United Healthcare, Kauai County, and Dr. Rita Bell Fernandez from University of Hawaii. We just finished a 4-month series on mobility. If you're interested in viewing any of those lectures, you can find them on our website. Unfortunately, we cannot offer certificates of attendance for videos you have viewed. You must participate in our education live. We are now in the first month of a 4-month series on medication. This month, our topic is on accessible gardens. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our speaker. Melody Halzel is a PhD student in public health with a focus on community-based and transitional research at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. She currently works as a graduate assistant for the Mauliola Initiative at Ho'ola Aina Pili Pili Accessible Community Garden, located at UH Manoa College of Education. Melody has a graduate certificate in Disability and Diversity Studies from the Center on Disability Studies, CDS, and is currently a participant of the Health, Equity, and Disability Inclusion Leadership Training Program. She has a BS in Public Health from the University of Massachusetts, Amherst, and an MPH from the University of Hawaii at Manoa, Native Hawaiian and Indigenous Health Specialization. Prior to her MPH, Melody served as a U.S. Peace Corps volunteer in a rural community in Ethiopia. Her current research interests include health, well-being, and garden interventions that are accessible for older adults and people with disabilities, including people with dementia and their caregivers. Aloha and welcome, Melody.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for having me today. I'm looking forward to present on my topic on, can you see my screen okay? Okay, one moment. Let's just set it up quick. Okay, thank you so much for the introduction and for having me here today. So I work at and I help to create the Ho'ola Aina Pili Pili Accessible School and Community Garden that's located at the University of Hawaii at Manoa College of Education campus. This is a picture of what our garden site looks like today. So this, I'll get into what I'm going to be talking about on accessible garden design and alignment with my research, which is on inclusive gardens for people with dementia and their caregivers in today's presentation. And then at the end, there are additional resources at the end of the slide so that if you want a copy of these slides, you'll be able to access those resources. And I might refer to them at some points throughout this presentation. So our overview for today is going to be talking about the overview of Ho'ola Aina Pili Pili, the design and implementation process, including the priority areas for inclusive design, the community impact, and then we'll have our time for a discussion and talk story. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat or save them for the end, and then we'll have that time to be open and share our stories or any experiences that you might have that are similar. So to begin with, I just want to share about the name Ho'ola Aina Pili Pili in Hawaiian. Ho'ola stands for to heal, to give life, to restore, also to regenerate. Aina is the land and that which feeds. And Pili Pili is the name of the ili, or the smaller land division where our garden is located. And Pili also has the meaning for a close relationship. So another meaning of our name was to regenerate, restore, and bring life back to the land, because where we chose our site for our garden, the picture on the left, was considered a dead zone on the US campus. So we wanted to regenerate this for its purpose of food and bringing back life to it, and then a place to promote social interaction and Aina-based education. So this shows what it looked like in March 2022 while we were designing and about to start building our garden site. And the picture on the right is what it looks like today in March 2024. So I guess 2 months ago. And then some of our goals for our accessible garden site include promoting Aina-based learning, accessible and inclusive space, intergenerational learning, healing, and equity, access to plants for food, tea, and medicine, promotes leadership, focuses on relationships and social interaction, and then alignment with the dementia-friendly garden research. Some benefits of gardening include physical activity, and these are some evidence-based benefits of gardening as well. So part of my research was looking at articles and evidence and studies that show the benefits of gardening for older adults and people with disabilities. And some of these included physical activity, social interaction, reducing stress, immunity booster, overall mental well-being, access to plants, herbs, and flowers, and nurturing spirit. Another reason why this is important and the public health priority, specifically for Hawaii, is that our older aging population is growing. So in 2030, 24% of Hawaii's population will be age 65 or older. That's compared to 19% nationally. And by 2040, 27% of Honolulu's population, which is more than 1 in 4 residents, will be over the age of 65. And this picture on the right shows the concept of universal design. So a lot of our garden design and the impact of it is that if you design it for people with disabilities and older adults, and maybe specifically for people with dementia, it will then be inclusive for all. So our purpose, again, is all people, regardless of age and ability, must see themselves reflected in the healing space of a community garden. And the photo on the right shows one of our community days and where we had a workshop at our garden. And you can kind of see people of all ages. So we have keiki and we have kupuna, and we have some older adults using a cane and also a wheelchair user. So it just kind of shows and exemplifies being able to align with our purpose of including all ages and people of all abilities. And then another reason why this is important is to reduce barriers to inclusion. So disability inclusion means understanding the relationship between the way people function and how they participate in society. And the CDC identifies barriers to inclusion, not only physical, that can make it challenging for people to be in garden spaces because of maybe access to the garden themselves, or there's a hill, or there's no way for people to really get to that space. But also there can be attitude barriers, social barriers, communication, policy, programmatic in general, and transportation. So our garden design was also, and programming is to also reduce these barriers to inclusion as well, not only the physical, but the other themes that could be addressed. This slide just shows a little bit about our design of the Ho'ola Aina Pili Pili garden. We were able to start with 12 raised garden beds in our design, and we mapped it out so that in between all of our garden beds, there was a minimum of 3 feet wide pathways for people and wheelchair users, and that's aligned with ADA guidelines. I'll get to another slide that shows our pathway sizes that are a little wider than the 3 feet around and in the middle of our garden site. And so the next few slides, I'm going to talk about the accessible garden priority areas with a little example of how we've done this in our garden. And this is also part of my research where I developed an accessible garden checklist that has these priority areas with items under each one that is a strategy or a recommendation in our garden site for removing these barriers to inclusion. And people can use the checklist as an activity as they go around the garden to observe those features and then be able to really get that sense of what is inclusive or not in the design in our garden space, and then use that hopefully in other locations as well. So the priority areas include the accessible entrance, accessible garden beds or access to the garden beds, and the program and services that we offer, including with pathways, ramps, and raised garden bed design. Having safety components, sensory components, which includes having different flowers that grow for taste, for touch, for color, also things that can bring hearing like wind chimes, bird feeders for birds, and the sense of self, community, and place. And then the priority 5 is the dementia-specific components, which is also aligned with my research moving forward. So in these next few slides, I'll just show you an example of the different priority areas. I'll then talk a little bit about the impact in the community. So the priority area 1 is the accessible entrance. So important to have accessible parking spaces or ADA parking that's close to your site, being close to a public transportation or bus route, having access to restroom facilities, and a ramp if there are stairs. So we have 3 restrooms available on the portables on the left of our garden site. And there's a ramp in the front so that it is accessible for people to use those and they're ADA compliant as well. If you have signs, that the signs are clearly marked. Same with if there's fencing, there's an accessible way to enter the garden. So for priority area 2, we looked at the access to the garden bed themselves. So we wanted to make sure all of our garden beds were raised according to ADA, which is 24 to 32 inches high for wheelchair users or people who are standing to be able to access them. And all of our garden beds are about 27 to 30 inches high, I would say. And then we have 8 garden beds that are 4 feet by 4 feet wide, and we have 4 that are 4 feet by 12 feet wide. And then on the right is a picture of a vertical garden design that's a lower cost option using concrete blocks, and you can use wood panels or even recycled wood. And then we have a video in our additional resources slide about a video demonstration on making this type of vertical garden design. The accessible pathways, we were able to get an ADA accessible mat material, and we got 3 rolls of it, which were 6 feet wide each, and we wanted to maximize that around our garden bed. So we cut it that the center was 6 feet wide so that 2 people who are using a wheelchair or 2 people can be able to easily pass each other in that pathway and also make a 360 turn. And then also it's convenient for our own wheelbarrows and moving materials around our garden site too. The minimum of 3 feet wide is between all of our garden beds, and around our garden is 4 feet wide, where it's almost 9 feet wide on the left because of the sidewalk that we're connected to. Next was the safety components. So having seating and shade, the layout of the pathway, which is ours is in a loop shape, kind of a simple loop, having adapted tools, access to water storage and the shed or any tools if you do have them. We have like a pop-up water table that we use so people in wheelchairs or standing can be able to wash their hands or water. And we also have a lot of adapted tools at our garden site. And then also safety of removing barriers and obstacles and the community integration. And the picture on the left shows our lily koi shade tent, which we grew as like an example of a natural shade tent. And we also have a shade structure in the center that has shade tents attached to it, but we're growing more lily koi in that center structure too, so that we'll have kind of more natural shade, which has been pretty awesome. And then priority area 4 is the sensory elements. So that includes planting flowers, herbs, and vegetables with the variety of colors, scents, textures, and flavors, distributing scents in the garden, using sound and familiar items that you can set up for memory purposes. And that might include planting kalo, which is a very familiar Hawaiian plant and family crop for people here to grow. Adapting garden activities for inclusive participation. And then, like I said before, including seating and shade in the layout for a safe place to rest and to promote social interaction. And then the 5th area, the priority area, is on the dementia-friendly components. And this is because for those living with a neurological condition such as dementia, plants and gardens provide a connection with the natural world. Gardens offer carers much needed respite and people living with dementia a safe space to socialize and maintain their physical and mental well-being. So some of the dementia-specific components, which might be included in other areas of our checklist or the priority areas of the garden, they include the multisensory experience, specific plants to support brain and memory health, seating that has back and arm support, the simple layout for orientation and landmarkers, and then there's a few items as well. And my intention is to test the usability of the checklist with people with lived experience or caregivers of people with dementia to see if this checklist actually will work in garden sites to be able to really identify strategies and maybe design or modify it to be more inclusive, and including how we can modify our own garden to be more inclusive for people with dementia moving forward. And we've also been added as a strategy to the Hawaii 2035 State Strategic Plan on Alzheimer's diseases and related dementias as a strategy for, we're kind of a model site for a dementia-friendly statewide garden moving forward. So what is a dementia-friendly garden? Just really quickly, that is designed to provide stimulating sensory and therapeutic benefits for people living with dementia and Alzheimer's disease. The plants and features in the garden are carefully chosen to support cognitive function and provide positive experiences. And the WHO has a global call to action to create new, innovative, and integrated models of care to address the complex needs of dementia patients that can also address and support the well-being and quality of life of their caregivers. So my research is really looking at turning knowledge into action using a knowledge to action framework of what are the impact and benefits of a garden site for people with dementia and their caregivers. How can we design that with that checklist activity? And then key informant interviews with leaders in the field on what are the barriers and enablers to implement this, a garden for people with dementia that's a statewide garden or a community site. Just really quick in the resources, there's already a tool out there called the Alzheimer's Garden Audit Tool from Marcus 2007. And that is for specifically dementia care facilities and private care facilities that want to have garden sites that are dementia friendly. And this one has a lot of technical aspects to it as well. So it definitely could be a resource if you're interested to check your own garden site or use it to design one moving forward. And then my checklist as well is a resource. And if anyone's interested, they can be in touch or join our mailing list for my research workshops that are coming up. But yeah, this next slide just talks about that future research and sustainability. And then our Malleola initiative is how we've gotten funding this past year and a half was through a Provost Initiative Award from the university to allow us to have health and wellness workshops and funding for supplies as well. And then also for continuing to develop with our accessibility components. Another benefit or reason why this is important is the health benefit of gardens and access to growing your own food. Antioxidants are linked to slower memory decline, and it's found in many vegetables, fruits, tea, and wine, shown to slow your rate of memory loss in new studies that have been out. This slide, I just want to show a few of the native Hawaiian and medicinal plants that we grow, including uhaloa, which can be used to help with, made into tea, and it can be used to help with asthma or congestion, different things like that. Mamaki, which we grow as well and we use to make tea, which has a lot of health benefits. And there's a recent article in 2024 published on the benefits of mamaki tea to prevent dementia. So that's really cool that there's more research now even showing that this is potentially not only good for helping with blood and blood pressure, but and all the other benefits, but also specifically for dementia. And then same with turmeric or olena, it's also been shown as having properties that can help to prevent dementia. This slide shows just an herbal tea recipe, and actually on our website we have recipes from the mala, which is all recipes and different things that we grow and have made from our garden site, so you can access that as well. When we make, or if, for an example, if I make mamaki tea, I'll harvest the leaves and then maybe let them dry for about a week, and then I'll bring a pot of water to a boil, add the leaves in and cover it, and I leave it overnight so that it can steep in the tea into the water, and then after that I just strain it and I can have it warm or iced. And then this is a picture of our garden site today. So the picture on the right is a drone view of our garden that we had taken from a community member. So it's really awesome to see our garden becoming used by the community, including members of the neighborhoods and students at University of Hawaii and the lab school, because we're actually located right on the lab school and University of Hawaii College of Ed campus. That's where our location is. So with our Malleola initiative and tracking of our participants and some evaluation, we've had over 600 participants of all ages, preschool students, high school students, university students, and kupuna groups. We're also a site has a MOU with the Retired and Senior Volunteer Program of Oahu. So that's like for kupunas who are part of this volunteer program, they can come to our site, and there's some safety features involved. And then we've partnered with, a lot of different community organizations. And for a continuation of this garden design, we also have partnered with Hi-Fi, and a contractor named James from them has come to our garden, and he used the similar design to implement raised garden beds in residential community housing. That's for older adults and people with disabilities. It's now on 2 sites, and they might have plans to continue that as well moving forward. And they're even looking into evaluating it, like how many of their community residents are using the garden, and what's it look like for sustainability for that moving forward. And a little about the Malleola Initiative overview. We had 3 strands. So our community day, which focused on community monthly work days at the garden. And we have school visits, education on INA-based activities, access to the inclusive garden checklist activity. And then we've done work share partner locations and that type of thing. We've had a movement strand, which was virtual movement and well-being sessions. And some of those topics included fall prevention and arthritis prevention and understanding your blood labs for metabolic health. So there are a lot of really cool topics that we covered. And then having relationship well-being with a health Native Hawaiian psychologist on strategies for professional and relationship well-being. So we kind of tried to cover a broad range of health and wellness, including at our last community day, we had a celebration of wellness, and we had an art workshop and yoga and planting. And then, we always make food that we can share for everyone who joins as well. Food and tea from the garden. And then just to wrap it up before we get into the discussion, and we can come back and look at these slides if you want. This is some of the community feedback, learning to make different foods from what we grow, watching the community come together to work on the garden was really beautiful. A quick story about this picture on the right is that when we first designed this garden bed, the center of it where the bricks are was like really kind of crooked because it was tough to dig into that ground where the concrete kind of was underneath it to make it a level, straight bed. And then out of the crooked, like kind of off looking part of the garden, the beautiful flowers grew out of it. And it kind of grew in the symmetrical way of like symmetry, showing, even through hardships, dark times, or things that might not look as good as you want it to, there's still beauty there and things can still grow. And then we also have asked people, what does an accessible garden mean to you? So being able to have people of all ages come to our garden site and give their input and feedback on this, including it's easy to reach and inclusive for all, creating a space of equality, community, welcoming, improving quality of life, and restoring connection to INA. So there's been a lot of, I think, people who have been able to get something of the experience of joining in our garden site as well too. And then, finally, I have the discussion questions up. I just want to say, if you want to get involved, you can sign up to join our mailing list. You can visit our website, Ho'ola Aina Pili Pili, which the short link is here, and follow us on Instagram as well. We're creating a supply and resource guide on the way that we built our garden, where we got the materials, the vendor, and like the dimensions of it. If people are interested, that will be coming out soon so that we can share that with people in the future. And everyone who participates in my studies in the future will also get this as a copy, as the resource and the checklist. And I just want to say thank you so much, and mahalo to Summer Mauna Kea and Alex Narajos, who I work with at the garden site. They couldn't be here today, but I just want to mahalo them for all that they do as well and for helping bring this garden to life. And we can go back to the discussion questions, or if anyone has any questions for now. Thank you all so much.
That was so great. Does anyone have any questions for her?
Hi, Melody. This is Leilani with Valdez Care Home.
Hi.
Are you guys anyway affiliated with that Pearl City Urban Garden?
We actually had someone from the garden, which was named Jerry, come to our garden site as well. And we did a garden building demo one day. So we've connected with them as a partner, but I have not visited it lately yet.
Okay. There was, I was looking on the website and there was a link for, I guess UH runs it, and you know how they provide like a monthly workshop or something, but there's nothing. I don't think it's been updated lately. Do you guys plan on doing any workshops there as far as like accessibility like workshop.
We don't have no plans at the moment, but I'm definitely open to. So I can help with doing an accessible workshop like virtually like this or in person, or having folks come to our garden site to also get that type of information. Definitely open to that. So if you want to email me or connect, we can for sure, I would say.
Okay, great. Thank you, Melody.
No problem. Yeah, I wanted to add too, if anyone's interested, please come to our garden site or you're all welcome to join, and it would be really awesome. Were there any other questions related to this presentation or anything I might have said too quickly?
I'm curious to know how the mamaki tea tastes.
I'd say it's very, well, since I drink it a lot now, it's a reddish color and it has like a smooth flavor. It doesn't get bitter even the longer that you steep it. It just brings out a little bit of a strength in the flavor, but it won't get bitter. So you can brew it overnight or longer, and you can even brew the leaves multiple times and it will still have nutritional benefits for you. Also, there's ways to make, like you can add lemongrass to it or mint or you can make different combos with mamaki that taste really good, I would say.
Nice to know. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I just wanted
Maybe-
to ask everyone really quick, sorry, if anyone has their own gardens and if they take their clients out to their gardens, and is that beneficial?
Well, we have a makeshift garden, so we went ahead and we bought the elevated, I guess the planter boxes from Home Depot to just put on our back lanai. That was the easiest way that we figured out how we could do it so that the wheelchairs can actually roll right under them. And that's how they work, considering it's elevated and they can work on it that way.
Yeah, I'll give another example. Foster Botanical Garden, their community garden site, they added 3 raised garden beds for accessibility purposes. And it's pretty cool that people, if they already had a garden, were able to transfer to it, or if they were on the waiting list, then they were able to get that garden bed.
We do have a garden here at our care home, but there's only one resident that likes to participate, and I encouraged her to plant, but what she really likes to do is water the plants or just like clean up a little bit. So.
I know there's also there's the Aloha Garden up at the state hospital, or there used to be. It was several years ago when I lived on Oahu, but and they did that for their residents there, for their patients, just to get them out in the community. There is a question in the chat, and I'm not sure if you know exactly what type of wine, but it's a good question. What type of wine will help slow down the occurrence of dementia? Are you aware of what type of wine, Slutty?
No, what I think it was trying to say is that flavonoid compound in wine can be helping with your memory as well. So I don't know exactly if that means all wines have like a high amount of that, or red is better than white. I wouldn't say I know that information. Just I thought it was interesting to add in there as from that research study.
Mm-hmm. There's more comments in the chat too. I'm just going to read it. Someone said, great idea. I don't have plant boxes, but my clients enjoy going around and picking up dead leaves. So taking care of their property and, you know, gardening, that's great. Do you have folks that do that there, Melody, that kind of clean up and maintain it?
We do, yes. Besides us 3 who are the workers of the garden. And our community days really help because people can help with all of the weeding, the watering, and the maintenance and those kinds of tasks. And then we even have a kupuna and a couple community members who do help on their own time as well. So it's definitely a community effort at this point, I'd say. But it would be great to, like, we've had kupuna groups come, and sometimes, yeah, we can give activities or not have structured activities, but they still enjoy being in the garden space and the social interaction and maybe learning about the tea that we make or different things like that. So it's also good to have like low impact activities as well as an option, I'd say.
So Raleigh wrote that they have a flowering garden in the front of their home, and plenty of vegetable gardens all over their yard, and the residents are harvesting right now.
That sounds great.
What are they harvesting? I'd be very curious to know. Sorry, there's another question here. Oh, they said green beans and long beans. Wonderful. What flowers are best or most popular to plant for those with dementia?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say, and this is all there are some scientific articles out now about these different plants, and some that probably come from traditional cultural knowledge as well over time. But lavender is one that can be used for the smell, for helping promote sleep and for helping with dementia and maybe calming as well. Lemon balm, sage, those have been herbs that we plant that are good for dementia, similar to Olena too. And then I'm not sure I think beetroot is good for your brain health. It's like kind of like different vegetables that can be good for brain health too, that can be good for dementia. And it's also something that I'm looking into in my literature review moving forward. If people mention the specific plants that they grow, I'll add that as like the components of what you should include in your garden site. So.
Rolly also said Chinese peas, in the garden. Minda wrote a comment, we really enjoy gardening and would love any furthermore series on this topic. And these are great questions and comments. Have you ever experienced a client with an allergic reaction to plants and flowers? And do you have a plan for something like that?
We do have like a first aid kit. We also, whenever people register for our events, we ask them if they have any allergies beforehand. So like I'll make a pesto from the garden with uwala leaves, Thai basil, and basil. And then I'll make it I made it one time without nuts actually, with sunflower seed for nut allergy, or I'll make it without cheese, dairy free for people who are vegan or who have that type of allergy. So we do try to be mindful of it. Similar, like I wouldn't personally say, oh, you should drink this tea to heal this, from my knowledge, but it's something that we have books on and research on, so people can hopefully decide for themselves. Never had that issue. One child got stung by a bee and it wasn't serious, but we do have like a first aid kit for that too. So I was a little nervous about that, but it only happened once. Yeah, that's a good question. So since working in this garden and the mamaki growing, and also it helps to harvest for it to keep growing. So I'll drink it every day, actually. I make it for me and my boyfriend, or he'll make it now. And then when we have our community days, we'll bring that, because the benefits are also for lowering blood pressure and for overall vitality, it says. And I don't know, I think it helps with your skin and immunity, different things like that it can be good for. We also have a plant called blue vervain in English and ha'uoi in Hawaiian that is good for central nervous system. That also might be good for, I don't want to say yet, but for your brain health, because it helps with sleep and ADHD or anxiety. And we'll make that into tea. The uhaloa. So we'll try to make different teas for people to know, like, this is growing right here, and then what it tastes like, so that they can do it on their own if they want to as well. I want to grow more lemongrass and mint in the future, actually, for teas. So. And if there aren't other questions, I do have some discussion questions as well, because just to kind of go along with this topic and my research of what would it look like to implement a dementia-friendly garden statewide. So if we wanted to, in the time, I don't know how you usually format it, but maybe we can give a few minutes and people can answer. We can go through the questions. Or I don't know if you have a better style.
Yeah,
That would be
great.
great.
Read the question?
Yeah.
Sure. So our first one, I'll start with, and maybe some people can put in the chat or unmute if you want to share. What are common challenges or barriers to inclusion to access gardens, especially for older adults and people with disabilities such as dementia? And maybe that's from a personal experience or something that I shared today that you resonate with.
Well, number one, you have to get them motivated to go outside. If they're not residents that like to go outside, you have to get them, number one, motivated to go outside. And then at that point, once they're outside, if they want to get their hands, into the soil or give them gloves, it's, it takes a special person to actually want to do gardening. I'm not one for gardening, so that's not my forte to encourage that. But if you have someone that enjoys it, have, your caregiver, have them take them outside, and then encourage them to just put their hands in, plant something. Hesitation to go outside, number one, I think, is one of the things. If they don't want to get dirty, that's another thing. So you always have things that you can encourage. You just gotta try.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think I went to Lunalilo Home before, where they have gardens outside, and they take their residents on walks 2 times a day through the garden. So it's not active participation, but it's still a way that they connect with being outside and maybe the smells or the different sensory elements. So I thought that was interesting to hear too, because she said most people don't want to garden there either as an activity.
Raleigh had wrote residents might fall. So that was a barrier.
Yes, actually, very good point, especially for fall prevention too. Something that we don't have but could be implemented is handrails, and that's a suggestion in the dementia care garden tool audit tool. So having handrails for people to support them while they walk around the garden site might be something to help with that as well.
There's some lack of gardening skills on the caregiver part. Do you ever do classes there for caregivers?
We don't yet, but I would love to, actually, yeah. That's definitely something I'm hoping to connect with as I keep doing this research and get into the recruitment for my studies as well, is really having people with dementia and their caregivers come for maybe organized activities and seeing if that is beneficial, kind of like our own study in a way. And also knowing what's out there already, like someone said, their space has a garden, so that's awesome, and whether it's used or not, so.
There's one more barrier here, needing a lot of supervision. Like, for instance, a client might do something like eating something that's not edible.
Yes, very good point too. In the safety components, it also mentions to not have anything poison, sharp, or toxic in your garden that would be at that type of reach level. So in our site, we do have some sharper plants, like we have aloe and we have dragon fruit, but they're not in the main garden, they're on the outskirts of our garden site. So that could be an intentional way to help, hopefully, with that safety. I also did see a study where they had a community garden and they have volunteers that they train in. I mean, it's not like they're maybe not fully trained as a caregiver, but they're trained in ways to support caregivers and people with dementia in the garden site. So on certain days of the week, at those hours, you could go and there would be someone there with that type of knowledge to help maybe with comfortability and inclusion. So. Yeah, these are all really great ideas.
Would a greenhouse be the next addition?
It could be, I mean, sometimes people talk about aquaponics, so I feel like that would be cool as well to get aquaponics there, because it's also a raised garden bed style, so that can be something that people can do in their homes. It's technical a little bit to create. A greenhouse would be awesome too, but I do think because of where we're located and we have such great weather and sunny and rain there, we might not need it necessarily, unless we want it to be more controlled with what we grow. We are an all organic garden, so that could help with pests and that kind of thing, I'm sure. If there aren't any other ideas, as I mentioned before in the slides, there are those common barriers to inclusion. That can even include, programming. Like our community days are Saturday morning from 9 to 11, and maybe can't make it that day. So that would be something we would have to look into to see what's a better day and time for the people that we want to be able to participate, for them to be able to join our garden. So what would be, if you have any ideas for strategies or enablers, I say, to modify or adapt or create a garden that would be accessible? And I gave a lot of the ideas that we've used for how we created our garden site. So maybe if you have any of those that you think, or your own, that could be even better strategies that we could look into, that'd be great. Or I guess along with the strategies, any examples or experiences that are similar to this type of accessible garden design.
I was thinking that gardening doesn't even have to be totally outdoors. It could be like a little, like how they create little succulent arrangements, or where they do the little jars. I forgot what it's called, like a terrarium gardening.
Yes, yeah. I agree. I think that's a really great point. Indoor gardening activities, or even some of the other examples were having a viewing garden. So maybe it's not needed for activities, but it's still there for people to walk by or view on a daily basis. That can be calming as well. But terrarium is a fun activity. I would love to do that one day. Just make your own. At our garden site, we usually allow, if anyone is interested too, we have a lot of soil, pots, and seeds and seedlings, so people can always kind of plant and take home too if they want, not only plant in for our space to grow.
So Raleigh commented, provide residents table to work on potted plants, repotting and seedings. So somewhere to sit and somewhere to work on something at a table in the shade like you had.
Yep. I'll just add to that too. If we ever need, we do have access to the portable classrooms as well, which has additional seating and air conditioning. So we could also use that for workshops if we wanted to do like a hybrid indoor-outdoor, or if there's a weather occasion or anyone needed air conditioning, maybe we have that as an option too. So I think that helps with additional space for the activities and for safety and that kind of thing. Actually, I just hear the music.
Hear music? Let's hear that too.
Oh, were you saying something?
Oh, I was hearing music, but it stopped.
I think there's a garden in San Francisco and the whole thing is texture. And so you can go around and smell and touch things and kind of guess what you're smelling. And I mean, they have labels too, but it's a pretty big garden. So those things are really nice when you have like the sensory stimulation in addition to the garden.
I agree. And if anyone has, for my other question, what would a successful dementia-friendly garden look like? Especially if it was a community site for people with dementia and their caregivers. I'm not sure if we have any like that here, and if that, I do know actually Foster Botanical Garden has been increasing their ADA accessibility, and I haven't visited it lately, but that they have even, I think, signs in Braille now and different aspects to make it more inclusive. So they could be a good model for that type of garden, but they're there's an entry fee. So just curious about different ideas on if we wanted to create or have a dementia-friendly community garden site. Or things to think about, and then reach out to me, or I can connect with you too for my future research as well on this topic.
I was going to answer a question earlier about the white wine and the red wine.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Okay. The resveratrol, which is the the good antioxidant in the wine, is much, much, much more in red wine. Okay. And the skin of the grapes make a huge difference. It is 10 times lower. It's not that it's zero, it's less in white wine. And I want people to understand that the magic is in the color. So if I go to the market and I have to choose a white onion or a red onion, which one does Doctora buy? I buy the red onion because the magic is in the color. The color has far more flavonoids, phytonutrients, antioxidants. If you have a choice to buy red cabbage or white cabbage, I will buy the red cabbage. Always choose color. And nutritionists and dietitians recommend colors of the rainbow. So don't forget that.
Yes, thank you. Very important. I just think if we have a few minutes left, should I go through the rest of my slides quickly, the additional resources?
Sure, we have time.
So, like I said, I can give a copy of these slides out, or they're available on the website, so you can access if you want to take a look at the additional resources at the end. We have, this is just some of the types of plants that we're growing. This was a few months ago, actually. So sometimes the picture on the left, actually, we started with our sensory bed. Some of these pictures. So we have Thai basil, lavender, 2 types of lavender, rosemary. We now have asparagus growing in it, and we had flowers in it and chive, all different types of items that are good for smell, for scent, for taste, for herbs, and that kind of thing. And then on our other garden beds, we sometimes do crop rotations. We'll do a rotation for fruit, root, leaf, legume, and then we rotate that. That helps with organic farming method as well as making the soil kind of more nutrient dense too. Some more of what's growing in our garden. Like I said on our website, here are some recipes from the garden site. So we make pesto. We've had a chef come and he did a food demo and made calo croquette. And a chimichurri sauce that was really good. Roasted beet hummus, uala mashed with garlic. We actually grow uala a lot, more for the leaf, but when we have that too, we'll make it. And then we grow roselle hibiscus, which is really high in vitamin C and for anti-inflammation, and we make that into tea as well. This slide shows some inexpensive vertical garden ideas, similar to, instead, so you don't have to really build the raised garden bed to have vertical garden design. This slide shows the vertical garden video demo. So if you wanted to take a look, we have like a little video on YouTube that just shows us building this. It was 2 or 3 people maybe, because the bricks can be a little bit heavy. So maybe you can help your kupuna to build this if they wanted their own. I actually used to have this in my backyard when I lived in Manoa, even my own little vertical garden, which was nice. This slide just talks a little bit about the importance of the American with Disabilities Act that ensures equitable participation for older adults and people with disabilities. So why it's important is because in the ADA, they have guidelines for accessible design, but not specific to gardens. So I kind of wanted to bridge that gap in showing here's alignment with ADA, but specific to a garden setting that should be inclusive for all. A little about universal design and some design elements for a garden. Again, yeah, I guess this is some repeat info, but just all in here if anyone wants to take a look. And then these were our measurements for our raised garden beds and our pathways. And that's, I guess I'll conclude there with our resources slide again. You can visit our website and you can also join our mailing list. And I really appreciate being able to share this with you because it's something that we put into action at our garden, and I'm working on it for my research, and it's really cool to be able to continue to share that with the community and especially with all the professionals and experts here. So mahalo for joining and listening today.
Last question. I'm familiar with UH Lab School. So as you pull in, where are you located on the grounds there? As you pull into the driveway, the main parking area, where would you turn? To the right at the end of the parking?
Yes, it's like if you turn it on Metcalf Street, there's the parking lot there now. I think it's a 01 overflow lot, and we're right by that parking lot, in between the lab schools and the College of Ed portables. Kind of like the top of the hill, if that makes sense. And right across now from the new Rise dorm.
Okay, I know where you're located. Yeah.
So you'd go on Metcalf Street right off of University Ave, depending which way you turn left or turn right into that parking lot. And we're located there.
Nice.
And I can send you a map as well if anyone's interested to come find our garden site. We have a little map with parking and directions.
I'm only 2 minutes away, that's why.
Oh, okay, perfect. And it's been getting a lot of rain lately, which is nice for everything growing. Yeah, any other questions? Or I don't know if there's a wrap up, but I'm.
I don't think we have any more questions, but Dr. Fernandez, did you have something to say? Maribel, are you there?
Yeah, John is going to get the slide deck back.
I'll stop sharing.
Thank you so much for that beautiful presentation. Learned a lot today. So please don't forget to complete your evaluation. And there are some things that questions that you will be asked when you complete the evaluation. First one here is, screen and assess, check the medications you or the case manager screens for in all older adults. The frequency, how often do you or the case manager check the medications? The number 3 is act on, what is the action taken? Number 4, your primary responsibility, who reviews the medication? And the last one is, are there any other information on the medications? And John just posted the evaluation link in the chat box. So please make sure that you access that to complete the evaluation. Please make sure that we have your correct names and information, your email address. And just to let you know that there's been a modification to the certificate, and that will include 1 hour attendance. So thank you so much for that suggestion. And you have to complete 1 evaluation for each person in your group. So it can't be 1 for the whole group. So everyone needs to complete the evaluation. Again, thank you so much for your participation and for making time to attend Care Home Echo today. Thank you for all that you do for for your patients, for our members. We greatly appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Melody. I'm now inspired to go and buy Mamaki tea and drink it today. So thank you for making this so simple and beautiful and showing us how we can help our patients and clients enjoy the gardens. We look forward to your checklist. We will put your slides, the checklist and that audit tool as handouts on our website so everybody can access them. Congratulations to you on your research, and we wish you all the best with your PhD program.